he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, and the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever. That is the verse that kept me believing in the doctrine of eternal torment in hell for over 30 years. But now, having studied the context of that passage, I don't even believe that is talking about hell. Today I'm going to do a very quick Bible study on Revelation chapter 14 to Revelation chapter 20. So as we do this, I want you to keep two questions in the back of your mind. Does the wrath of God continue after it has been completed? And two, could the word torment actually be a metaphor for destruction? Alright, so today we're going to look at the two strongest verses in the Bible that teach the doctrine of eternal torment in hell. Both of them are found in Revelation. Let's read them. Revelation 20 verse 10 says, "And the devil who deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever." And the other one is Revelation 14:9. "If anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, and the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever. They have no rest day or night who worship the beast and his image, or whoever receives the mark of his name." So very strong language in those two scriptures, and if you take them in isolation, they appear to be talking about hell. But today we're actually going to look at a little bit of context from Revelation 14 to Revelation 20. Let's leave the Revelation 20 scripture for last, and let's talk about Revelation 14:9. If anyone worships the beast and his image, this is what's going to happen to them. So everything that it says is specifically for those who worship the beast and who take his mark. It says, 1, they shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. Listen to the language of that. Could the wrath of God get any more severe than that? So that's one thing. It promises the wrath of God in full to those who take the mark of the beast. 2, they will be tormented. 3, it tells us what the agent of that torment is, fire and brimstone. 4, it tells us where that torment is going to take place, in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And 5, the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever. So those 5 things we want to look at in detail. Let's start with number 4 actually, because this is promising the wrath of God and torment on those who take the mark of the beast. And this torment with fire and brimstone is going to happen in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Very important detail right there, because those who believe in eternal torment believe that hell is a separation from God, eternal separation from God, not physical death, the cessation of existence, but death as meaning separation from God. 2 Thessalonians 1:9 says they will suffer everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord. Some people believe that means away from the presence of the Lord. But this verse is promising something that's going to happen in the presence of the angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So already that should put some doubts in your mind that maybe this is not talking about hell, because there's a clear discrepancy here. This is happening in the presence of the Lamb, who is God. So let's move on to the wrath of God. The language in Revelation 14 is very strong. It promises the wrath of God, the wine of the wrath of God, poured out full strength or undiluted into the cup of his indignation. That is very strong language. I mean, you couldn't describe the wrath of God in any stronger language than that. All right, but now let's keep reading. Normally we read that passage and we stop right there, but it goes on. Revelation doesn't end at that point. Then I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them the wrath of God is complete. And then it goes on in the next 2 chapters to describe a series of 7 earthly judgments. And in these 7 earthly judgments, the wrath of God is complete. So if you think hell is the wrath of God, then I want you to answer the question, how does the wrath of God continue after it has been complete? If the wrath of God is completed in a series of earthly judgments, how could hell be an expression of the wrath of God? How could the wrath of God continue after it has been complete? The word wrath is used 38 times in the New Testament, 14 times in the book of Revelation, and it never ever refers to hell. It always refers to some kind of earthly judgment. Revelation 16:1 says, "Then I heard a loud voice from the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go and pour out the bowls of the wrath of God on the earth." Plague number 1. So the first went and poured out his bowl upon the earth, and a foul and loathsome sore came upon the men who had the mark of the beast and those who worshipped his image. Notice how that plague is coming specifically on those who worship the beast and those who take his mark. Plague number 2, the sea is turned to blood. Plague number 3, the rivers are turned into blood. Plague number 4, then the 4th angel poured out his bowl on the sun, and power was given to him to scorch men with fire, and they were scorched with great heat, and they blasphemed the name of the Lord. So remember, it promises that they will be tormented with fire and brimstone. Now we see the 4th angel pouring out his bowl on the sun, and men are being scorched with fire, scorched with heat. Plague number 5. And the 5th angel poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast. Again, notice that it's specifically on the beast and his kingdom became full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues because of the pain. Plague number 6, the Euphrates River was dried up. And plague number 7, there was a great earthquake and a plague of hails. And it goes on to say, Babylon the Great was remembered before God to give her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. So we see a lot of the promises and threats of Revelation chapter 14 are actually being fulfilled in chapter 16 in a series of earthly judgments. They were promised the full wrath of God, and here we see 7 plagues in which the wrath of God is complete. It is promised that they will be tormented with fire and brimstone, and here we see that they are being tormented with heat, with fire from the sun, with pain, with sores, with earthquakes, and all of this is happening on earth. It's not happening in hell. So it seems that all of the threats and prophecies of Revelation chapter 14 are being fulfilled in a series of earthly judgments in chapter 16. So there is a strong possibility that Revelation 14 may not even be talking about hell, and would you believe that? That is one of the strongest scriptures in the entire Bible that teaches eternal torment, and that may not even be talking about hell. Right? But it goes on in the 7th plague to talk about the wrath of God being poured out on Babylon the Great. In Revelation chapter 18, it talks a little bit about Babylon the Great. This is an earthly kingdom. This is either going to be a future kingdom, a present kingdom, or a past kingdom, depending on whether you are premillennial, postmillennial, or amillennial, whether you are preterist, futurist, historist, or whatever you have. Right? But no matter how you look at it, Babylon the Great is an earthly kingdom that is going to be destroyed on earth. Let's read a few verses from Revelation chapter 18. Babylon the Great is fallen. Therefore her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord who judges her. Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come. For in 1 hour such great riches came to nothing. Every shipmaster, all who travel by ship, sailors, as many as trade by the sea, stood at a distance and cried out when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, Who is like this great city? And they threw dust on their head, and they cried out, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, that great city in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth, for in 1 hour she is made desolate. I think it should be very clear that this is an earthly city that's going to be utterly destroyed, and that destruction is going to come very quickly. It says in 1 day, in 1 hour, they shall be burned to the ground, utterly burned, the Bible said. And this is not talking about hell, it's talking about an earthly judgment, because people are looking at the city being destroyed and lamenting and mourning. But then it goes on to say, the kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived luxuriously with her will weep and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torment. The Greek word there is basinismo. The merchants of these things who became rich by her will stand at a distance for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. What torment? It just described an earthly kingdom that is utterly destroyed in 1 hour, burned down to the ground. Right? Maybe this is a meteor strike, maybe it's a nuclear weapon. Whatever it is utterly burned to the ground in 1 hour, 1 day. What torment is it talking about? 3 times in the book of Revelation chapter 18, it mentions the word torment, but it's clearly describing the destruction of an earthly kingdom. What torment? There is no torment. So it's using the word torment, basinismo, to mean destruction. So in Revelation chapter 14, when it talks about he will be tormented with fire and brimstone, same Greek word, the smoke of their torment ascends forever. And in Revelation 20, where it says they will be tormented day and night forever and ever, you do have to wonder now, okay, there's a possibility that that torment could simply be a metaphor for destruction. Now, just as a disclaimer, the word torment, basinismo, normally means what torment means. It normally means conscious torment, conscious torture. But in Revelation chapter 18, 3 times, the word torment is used to mean destruction, and that is very clear from the description of the text. So now that throws a little spoke in the wheel, because this is a scripture that we normally think means they will be thrown in hell and eternally tormented day and night forever and ever. But there is the possibility now that this torment could actually be a metaphor for destruction in hell. And then it goes on to say in chapter 19, referring to Babylon the Great, "For true and righteous are God's judgments, because he has judged the great harlot who corrupted the earth with her fornication, and he avenged on her the blood of his servants shed by her. And they said, Alleluia, her smoke rises up forever and ever." Again, we're talking about the earthly destruction of an earthly kingdom. How does her smoke rise up forever and ever? This is now the 2nd time in the Bible we are seeing that imagery of eternal smoke being used to describe temporal destruction. We saw it in Isaiah chapter 34 verse 10, referring to the destruction of Edom. Now we're seeing it again with the destruction of Babylon the Great, which is earthly destruction, not hell, whose smoke rises up forever and ever. So now in Revelation 14:11, when it says the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, there is strong reason to believe that that is not talking about hell, but that is talking about earthly judgments. Alright, so let's recap. There were 5 things mentioned in these texts. It promises the full wrath of God on those who take the mark of the beast and worship his image. That is fulfilled in the 7 last plagues which all happen on earth. It promises that they will be tormented with fire and brimstone. We see that being fulfilled in Revelation chapter 16 on earth. It says the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, but we know that the imagery of smoke ascending forever is normally used as a judgment metaphor for earthly destruction. It says all of this will happen in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. That cannot be talking about hell, because hell is a separation from God. And we see a precedent that the word torment, basinismo, could actually be a metaphor for earthly destruction as well. And again, the word torment, basinismo, usually refers to conscious torment, but there is a precedent that it could also be referring to destruction. It could be a metaphor for destruction, and that precedent happens to be right there in Revelation chapter 18, and that's significant that it happens right there in the book of Revelation. So when we get to Revelation 20:10, there's a possibility that that may not be talking about conscious torment in hell, but actually destruction in hell. So in a previous video, I talked about 20 destruction passages or annihilationist passages, and there are 2 eternal torment passages. Well, since then, I have actually counted 5 more destruction passages. So I could count 25 verses that teach destruction, death, and perishing as the final state of the wicked. And I said that there were two verses that taught eternal torment in hell, but after studying the context of Revelation 14, we can now knock that one out. That's not talking about hell, that's talking about earthly judgments during the future tribulation. So now we're down to just one verse of scripture in the entire Bible that teaches that some entities will be tormented in hell. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever. There are now 0 passages of scripture in the Bible that clearly teach that human beings will be eternally tormented in hell consciously. Revelation 20:10 says the devil, the beast, and the false prophet will be tormented day and night, and there's a strong possibility that could be teaching eternal conscious torment in hell. But there is also the probability that that could be teaching destruction in hell. The word torment could be used both ways, and as a disclaimer once again, most of the times the word torment is used in the Bible, it refers to conscious torment. So I would say there is an 80% probability that Revelation 20:10 says that the devil, the beast, and the false prophet will be eternally tormented in hell consciously forever and ever. And the most you could conclude from that is that those 3 individuals will be eternally tormented in hell. There is no scripture that says human beings will be tormented in hell. Would you believe that? And there's a 20% chance that even the devil, the beast, and the false prophet will be annihilated, because the word torment could actually mean destruction. And when you tie that in together with all of the destruction languages that is consistently used in the Bible, hermeneutically, the path of least resistance is to interpret Revelation 20:10 to mean the devil, the beast, and the false prophet will be destroyed, and that destruction will be forever. So Revelation 20:10 is the strongest verse now that teaches the doctrine of eternal torment. I cannot totally disprove that interpretation. That interpretation is possible. But I think I have given you sufficient doubt to question whether that is the best interpretation of scripture. It could also be a reference to destruction in hell. Alright, so if you're still watching, clearly this has been a blessing to you. Make sure you hit the like button, it helps the channel. And if you think there are people you know who would benefit from hearing a video like this, share it with them. Right? YouTube has a share feature. You could just share it with them in whatever social media platform you use. I will really appreciate the help as well. And check out for my new videos every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. If you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, YouTube should give you a notification whenever I put a new video out. But you could just search for my name or the channel name, Bible Issues, on YouTube, and that'll take you straight to my channel. And you could check out all of the other videos that may be of interest to you. And on the right side of your screen, there's a playlist of all of the other videos in my Hell and Annihilation series. Feel free to check that out. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and I will see you all next time.